Overview: Two responses to reductionism. This presentation is a survey of the roots and nature of the philosophical scientific theory of reductionism. Reductionism is deeply embedded in the worldview of classical physics. Consequently, as classical physics became ever more deeply entrenched and widespread in Western culture, so did reductionism. One of my conclusions is that reductionism is less monolithic than many generally suppose. I try to explain the variations in reductionism via two fundamentally different approaches to the purpose of scientific theory. By the late 19th century, dualism had come to be seen as incompatible with modern science. Therefore, many working scientists and philosophers of science had come to accept reductionism as the only viable framework of scientific theory. But in more recent times, reductionism has become more nuanced and has evolved into harder and softer versions, especially in relation to the study of mind and consciousness. In order to explain the emergence of these harder and softer versions of reductionism, I'm going to suggest that there is a division in scientific culture between rationalists and empiricists. The rationalist route leads to hardline fundamentalist reduction because, firstly, rationalists are not inhibited about inquiring into the inner workings of things, the hidden mechanisms under the observable surface. Secondly, because the rationalist approach entails a very thorough thinking through of the issues in pursuit of consistency of analysis. Both of these characteristics are required in order to pursue their goal of a thoroughly consistent and comprehensible understanding of the world. The empiricist route, on the other hand, leads to a softer form of reductionism because, firstly, empiricists tend to concentrate on only what can be observed. Secondly, they are concerned to generate knowledge that works in order to pursue the prominent empiricist goal of predictability. These two characteristics gave empiricists a much higher tolerance for contradiction than rationalists, who are seeking an internally consistent understanding of the world. The rationalist route led ultimately to identity theory, which is the most radical rejection of dualism. Identity theory claims that mental states simply are brain states. In other words, mental states and brain states are one and the same thing, hence the name identity theory. Identity and related theories have led us down what I believe to be a theoretical cul-de-sac of rigidly hardline determinism, in which free will is irredeemably illusory, and even humanistic concepts of meaning are to be eliminated. This is, I believe, an example of premature closure via rigid theoretical consistency. By contrast, empiricism has led to the idea that meaningful freedom can emerge from biological evolution, even in a completely determined world. Thus, the empiricists may have been able to punch a hole through the end of the cul-de-sac, through which further theoretical and empirical advances in consciousness studies may be able to pass.